All right. We are up and running for Triple T number 137. Yeah, 137 of these in a row even. Yeah, my name is TJ Zebel. I like to call myself a professional problem solver, which I always follow up with, no, I don't know everything, but I do have a unique way of asking questions to help people find the solutions that they are looking for. We are live on YouTube, so I get to say, hi, Mom. Love doing that. And for the rest of you on YouTube or watching the recording, please do all the YouTube stuff. Click the subscribe, ring the bell, leave comments, comment on other people's comments, and comment on your comments, because I like comments. What else we got? I got a website, the tswb.com, the tall skinny white boy.com. That's what it stands for. I don't care what else you find on the internet. Please don't look, because there's some weird stuff out there under that acronym. And I've been the tall skinny white boy for a long time, way before the internet. So I'm first. Let's see what else. I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. I help people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, money challenges, lots of relationship challenges. Been having a lot of relationship stuff going on. A lot of success stories, which I, of course, enjoy. And that free 30-minute consult is your opportunity to contact me and tell me what's going on. If we're a fit, I'll let you know. If we're not, I will let you know as well, and try to find you the best solution to your challenge. What else we got? Time to introduce the tie of the week. I realize that I think we've got 22 weeks left, which I looked at my ties and realized I don't get to have 22 of my cartoon ties, because I don't have that many. So I brought out an old Let's Go Paisley.
When you said 22 weeks, I was like, oh, that many?
Yeah.
Very nice.
So, classic Paisley, always good. What else we got? Let's see. Questions and topics. Yes. Anybody that has questions and topics, please type them in the chat so that we can reference them quickly for hour number 2. For those of you that are watching this for the first time or watching the recording for the first time, the way I like to run the show here is the first hour I've got some topics, usually 3 that we try to get through. And then second hour is open mic, open platform. Anybody on the chat can bring up a topic or ask a question, and I let those on the call answer first, because I like to learn as well. And you don't even have to know how to spell NLP to join us. So if you're watching this recording or watching live, please come on live with us and join in. Love to have you here. As people are rolling in, I did start a minute or 2 early. So we're a few minutes ahead of schedule as people are rolling in. Anybody have anything they would like to share from the last 7 days since we got together last? Any cool things, ahas, epiphanies you want to share? Holly.
Don't know if Laura was trying to talk. See if I can figure out how to even lower my hand. Okay, there we go. Well, one of the things I was talking to TJ about this earlier, but I was just kind of talking about exercise. And one of my takeaways is, for so long, I keep telling myself, I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to clean. I don't have time to fill in the blank. And specifically, I'll go with exercise, but I think it applies to other things too. One of the things I'm realizing is So the analogy I was using for those who play D&D, your D&D character has what are called hit points, which is how much damage they can take before they have to rest, before they have to recover, basically. And that's simplifying everything I know. But I feel like, because I've been exercising, I've been proud of myself. I've actually been consistently exercising. And I kind of feel like the total possible hit points of my character, if I were a D&D character, have gone up. And I was just thinking, like, when my hit points are higher, what I can accomplish, the number of hours I can stay awake before I need to go to sleep, all that stuff goes up. So here I was telling myself I didn't have time to exercise. And by not exercising, I didn't have time. So anyway, that was my biggest takeaway, I think, from this week.
And in case there's somebody out there wondering, D&D is...
Oh, did you want me to say that? D&D, for those who don't know, it's a game called Dungeons and Dragons. And like I said, I know that's a very geeky reference, but the principle, yes. So yes, my character is leveling up. But if that analogy doesn't speak to you, you could also just say, as I get healthier, I'm able to make better use of my time, and I have more time to make use of.
Exactly. Proud of you. Way to go. Keep it up. Okay, anybody else got anything they want to share? Lenora.
You had mentioned 22 weeks left in the year or 20 weeks left in the year, and I just didn't realize that that's how many it is, because I made a countdown on my phone last week when I noticed I wasn't posting. And then I made, okay, well, I'm going to post every single day for the rest of the year. And I've been doing very, very good about it. And I'm really excited about it. So in case you need help with your goals, I highly recommend putting a clock or a countdown of some sort right on your calendar to help that streak come up. But it's really, really helpful. So I love that Holly's doing that. And I love that we're celebrating it. And I'm right there with you, Holly. I feel like my score went up too. So thank goodness for you referencing Dungeons and Dragons.
Good stuff. Anybody else got anything they want to share about their week before we take the deep dive? All right. Well, this week's topics: story time, new prophet, and dating or meeting. Let's dive right in. Story time. Everybody loves a good story, right? And there are some people that are really good at telling stories, and then there are people that aren't quite as good at telling stories. Any of you, out of curiosity, ever have somebody get bedtime stories read to you? Really? How cool is that? Were they good storytellers, or did they just read the book?
No, they were fantastic storytellers. My dad would very, very frequently read books, and he did all sorts of voices. So it was very lovely to have him read. And then I had to learn to read also, because that's what they encouraged.
Right?
Hi there.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, I used to read stories for my kids, and I'd do most of the character voices, like Laura's dad, Bert and Ernie, Cookie Monster, and yeah, it was, I couldn't quite manage Big Bird, but then I found out Big Bird was a woman, so now I know I didn't have the reach.
Awesome.
Or the range, yeah.
There are so many directions that I could take this topic. Literally. I mean, we could talk about the practice to change your voice, to improve your voice, to improve speech, to improve dialects. learning how to tell stories for those of us in the industry to help clients better visualize the change we're going through. One of the things that popped up when I thought about this is, who's telling your story now in your head? How many stories do we tell ourselves, and who's in charge of telling those stories? And are they serving us? How many times does that little voice come in and go, yeah, you're not going to be able to do that. Yeah, no. Oh, better watch out. Could be dangerous. Yeah, you're not going to be able to make that change. And we hear these stories all the time. But who's helping us correct the storyteller? I had one person point out that if you change the perspective on whether or not you're the lead in the movie or if you're in the movie, how does that allow you to change the storyline? If you're simply in the movie and you're outside and you're the director, whose stories are, who's giving the lines to all of the participants in the movie? And we've seen those movies where the narrator is talking about what's going on in their head, and you can hear the voices going on in their head. What is that voice like for you? Is it the traditional movie voice coming on? Yes, she thought she could, but it was 91 degrees out, and so she said, nope, ain't doing it today. Or is it a scared little kid? And if it's the scared little kid, are they the one telling the story, or are they the one reacting to the story that they're seeing? Do they understand that they're safe? Do they have the ability to understand that no is a complete sentence? Sometimes you don't have to explain. Do you want to do this? No. Why not? No. Because I'm an adult and I decided no.
I like that one. I find that I have to justify it a lot, even to myself, that it's no because. So that's a very interesting one.
No, because I think is sometimes it can be programmed by family or tribe, peer pressure. We're going to go do this. You coming with? No. Why? Because I don't want to. Well, that's not a good enough answer. Why? Because I don't want to. Well, why don't you want to? And you ever feel like the more they dig, one of two things are going to happen. You're either going to get shamed into doing something you don't want to do, or you're going to dig your heels in deeper and go, no, Now I don't care how much you try to entice me. You torque me off. The answer is definitely no. End of no. No, no. Shut up. Elijah popped in with a great question. What response on my part will end this interaction? What do I have to say for you to shut up and go away? Holly.
I know this is turning into Noah's a complete sentence kind of section, but one of the things I was thinking about is a while back, I had 2 back-to-back experiences. One was I was on somebody I needed to say no, and my reason didn't make sense to somebody on the outside. It sounded like it's no big deal, but it was a really big deal. And then immediately after, somebody else had no said to them. And I don't know if this is true for men, but we did a deep dive on it, and we realized the reason, at least with a lot of women, that they have to know the why is you're rejecting me. I need to know how important I am to you. I need to know, are you rejecting me for a real important reason? Or are you rejecting me for some minor reason? And so she and I were talking about this. And like I said, they were 2 totally different experiences. But, because what it was is she had a birthday party and she had some people that she thought were close friends that didn't come. And I just started talking to her and I said, well, what if, your friend, because she hadn't seen him in a couple of years, what if she was pregnant and just had a miscarriage? And she was at the hospital having her miscarriage, and she doesn't want to talk about that because it's still emotionally raw. And maybe she and her husband don't want to share that with anybody yet. And you're pressuring her to share that thing that she doesn't want to know or doesn't want to share, just so that you can know that the reason she didn't come to your birthday party was a legitimate reason. And anyway, the thing that we kind of came to was true friends need to know, you know what, if I say no, I care enough about you that my reason is good enough and you don't need to know the details.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had that with some of my best friends. And it's like, that faith, that trust that, hey, I still care about you. Me saying no is not a rejection of you as a person. It's me having a healthy boundary that I need to have for myself. And if you care about me, you'll honor that. And if I need to share, I'll share. But if I need to keep it private, I need you to respect that. Anyway, it was a really fascinating several hour long conversation that really stuck with me.
And those are great insights. I'm so glad that you shared that. And Elijah just put in, remember the most important lesson, it's not about you. And so in this, I want people to start paying attention to the stories that they're hearing. And some of them are so quiet and yet so controlling. Especially a lot of my clients who are dealing with depression and anxiety. It's not until you dig in deep that the voice suddenly gets heard. And then you got to figure out, well, who is that voice? Why are they able to talk that way? Is that acceptable? Is it helping? And then we can also replace it with a different voice. I think you guys have heard enough times, but if you're new to the channel, some of the things I've done for clients when they're dealing with things that have been said to them, especially, man, some of the stuff I've heard has been just heartbreaking. Some of the most vicious, vile things ever said to human beings. And of course, a lot of times, it's by friends or family or loved ones. Because they know exactly where to put the knife, and we give the power to the words. It's not that the words they use have the power. They give us the ingredients. We add the power and the meaning. And so what I will do is I will have my client pull up the recording and say the phrase or the words to me exactly the way they recorded it, trying to match the volume, the vocals, the energy, and everything. And it can get pretty gnarly. But then what I have them do is I have them change the voice. And some of my favorites, I like to have them first do Goofy. And the first, being it's their first switchover, first edit, they're like, what? I'm like, no, I want you to say the same words to me using Goofy's voice. And you can feel the energy starting to light up right away. And then I'll have them do Mickey Mouse. And then usually I have them finish with Minnie Mouse, because by then they've got to say these nasty things in this high squeaky voice. And most of them end up laughing. And I'm like, you realize that you just said that nasty, hurtful thing with a grin on your face and a giggle in your voice? It wasn't the words. It was the way you recorded it and the energy that you applied and put into it. And so, Lenora.
Anyway, you're good.
No, go ahead.
This was, for anybody who's hearing this was extraordinarily difficult for me when TJ first had asked me to do this, because I felt so ridiculous and then even more judged by my own doing when he had me do this. But it really does work once you can get past that, when you start to allow yourself to play with it, and as long as there's enough rapport. So it really was very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Because it goes right back to story time. There are so many different ways you can tell the same story, using different characters, using different voices. Having Dracula played by Minnie Mouse. Yeah. I want you to suck your blood. Yeah. You're like, yeah, that's not working. But we also have the ability to change the story. Because who we are today is just a culmination of what we've experienced and survived. And who we were back then isn't a direct reflection of who we are now. We are who we are now because of what we went through back then, what we survived. And I think too many people get the story reversed. I am those people. Therefore, because I failed back then, I can't do this in the future. And I think that's a really tough way to write a storyline. Any other ahas, epiphanies, comments on this? Yes, Lenora.
I think these are really helpful when you can sit and really notice them, but also sit and have a conversation with somebody that says, here's what I'm noticing. Can you help me shift the story or start to modify it. Or if you're in conversation with somebody like one of the lovely people on this group and they start to notice it, because I'll hear things in other people's language, but I don't always hear it in mine. And unless I'm quite literally recording myself and sending something to somebody saying, hey, these are my thoughts on this, and I'll listen back to it and go, oh, wow, I didn't even notice that. So it really takes a lot of reflection if you're trying to do it alone, and to really spend time with people who are excellent at hearing language and the stories that you happen to be telling yourself.
And that's right back to building your tribe with intention. Surrounding yourself with people that are comfortable and know they have permission to call you out on storylines that don't serve you. People those that know me well know that I have no problem going, did you just say that? What? Did you just say that about yourself? Why would you say that about yourself? If a stranger came up and said that to you in public, in front of your friends, how would you feel? And I've had a number of times where people are like, well, wow, I didn't even realize I said that. I'm like, that's even scarier, because those stories are set in, they flow so easily. And I'm not going to say that I'm above all this. I've had my own inner voice challenges, and I've had many days where being trained in this industry can make it even more frustrating sometimes, because I know that I'm telling the younger guy inside of me, no, and don't ask why. No, we're not going to go that way. And that helps me with empathy for those that have this as well. Holly.
So another of my takeaways, sorry, hopefully you're finishing your thought. I really like what you were saying about, like looking at it as a movie from different perspectives of, are you the writer? Are you the, anyway, one of the lines that popped into my head, it's from the movie The Holiday, where they're talking about romantic comedies, and the old guy that is mentoring one of the leads is saying, in movies, there are leading ladies and there are best friends. And right now you're acting like the best friend, basically, why aren't you being the leading lady? And then she says, you're right. You're supposed to be the leading lady in your own life. And what I love about that too is because it means everybody gets to be that role in your own life. And it doesn't have to be a romantic comedy. There are, stars and there are supporting characters. And are you playing a supporting character in your own life, or are you playing the lead? And then the other thought, because now I was thinking about different genres, is, do you think that you're in a horror movie, a thriller, and really you're in a romantic comedy? Or really you're, how does your life look different if you play around with the genre?
Excellent. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because at Hypnothoughts Live, I can't think of the presenter's name now, but he did his talk. He used to work in the movie industry, and without going into it, he just said that things got too weird and he couldn't deal with it anymore. So he found this industry, and now he uses movies as metaphors. And when he's working with clients, he likes to ask them, what is your current movie? What role are you playing? What character do you see yourself as? Who are the characters around you? What's the storyline? What's keeping you from changing it into a movie that you would rather have? When I teach my class, Identity Management University, one of the things that I have my clients do is put together a little list of somebody that they would like to be. They wish they could be. And then I will have them get up, leave the room, and I tell them they have to close their eyes, turn around 3 times, and come back into the room as the person that they had written down. And they don't get to describe the person, they have to show us the person. They have to show the differences, the different voice, the different... And you would be... It's amazing to see the transformation when they get it. I have seen petite little ladies come back out 6 inches taller, 5 inches wider, with a voice that goes from a little squeak to a full, fills up the room. Full presentation. And I've watched them, when they saw people looking, all of a sudden go, whoop, I'm not that person. And they'll shrink down. I'm like, no. You've already shown that you can be that person. Now you have to be that person for the rest of the class. And what I used the metaphor was, if you can act it out, all of these traits, all of these things are simply like ingredients in a pantry. And if you can come out and act it, you own the ingredients. You're not lacking the ingredients, they're already in there. Somebody told you that you're not allowed to put pepper flakes on a chocolate chip cookie. It's your darn cookie. Make it the way you want it to fit the movie that you want to be in. Now, if you've been around Planet TJ long enough, you know that I kind of bag on the whole confidence thing. And in the same breath, when I ask people, well, what does it look like? How would you walk? How do you talk? How do you act when you're confident? And when I have them do that and go out, do the 3 turns and come back in, well, look at that. They've changed the way they stand, the way they breathe, the way they talk, the way they project, the way they use their arm movements. Did they acquire more confidence? Or was the ingredient already in their pantry, but they were listening to a story that told them that they couldn't use that they didn't deserve that ingredient, that they didn't have enough of it? Well, you can't be confident because you got to have a big box of confidence like this. What's the recipe? You know, it doesn't take much vinegar to ruin the punch. And yeah, it's like Mike just put in there, or they believe that they don't deserve the ingredient. By whose standards? They're in your pantry. You own them. Lenore.
Something that I found really helpful for me is realizing what voice is saying this. And I can definitely tell I'm now quite familiar with the many voices in my head, when it's a younger version, and I will really keep drilling down, and I will have her come out and, okay, where did you get this? And I will have a full conversation with this version of myself. And I found that to be incredibly helpful because it gives me something to talk to. And it also is like talking to the gatekeeper of this thought that they're insisting on that I need to carry. And just really navigating that in a conversation has been extraordinarily helpful.
And I'm glad you shared that, because when you realize you have that ability, you can also bring in other actors to have conversations with the kids. And I've had clients that have told me quite often that all of a sudden I become the other voice in their head going up to the kid going, hey, stop that. And if that's what it takes, I have no problem with that. But that's all part, again, of designing your story. Who's starring? What's the plot line? Do you want it to be a rom-com? Do you want it to be an action? Do you want it to be a Hallmark? Oh. Of course, Hallmark, same 12 actors, different location, same storyline. But classics. Anything else on that before we switch gears, try and get all three of them in tonight? Yes, no, maybe? Lenora.
I imagine it's a lot like projection, but I had a way in thought the other day, and this version of myself had projected out and asking her questions. And not just me asking questions, I had brought the young one who's with me. There's lots of names for her. We'll just go with the young one for now. And had her ask questions and had her have a conversation. And I found this to be very helpful. And there's a beautiful technique that Kaz also teaches about, of the many parts that come in, they basically meld into 3 different versions, and they each share a piece in that very specific circle that she's bringing them into, of what you needed to know about this lesson, or what you'll need to know going forward. And it really is all these, for as many different techniques as out there, we're all trying different things and coming down to the same core thing, which is finding ways to break the trance. That it really was a trance of thought that just happened to get locked in. And how do we maybe not break it, maybe shift it, whatever label you want to give it, but how do we navigate around this so that there can be resolve and movement forward? And I think about it a lot. I think it's such a beautiful thing. Some people might say I might drive them crazy. I think about it a lot, but helpful to me.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else before we move on to the next topic? No, maybe. All right. Next topic, new profit. And this goes on the saying of you can't be a prophet in your own land. How many of you have heard this saying before? Well, if you got kiddos, it makes even more sense. But I had one of my clients today is having major epiphanies and admitted that when they are in their higher vibration, going on to Instagram now is almost like the magic 8-ball. When they're in high vibration, they get the reels or the videos that they just need to hear. And when they're in low vibration, they've learned to not even go on social media because a bunch of junk just shows up. And it works one of two ways. Either they go on social media and they see a bunch of junk pop up, and then they evaluate themselves and go, oh yeah, I'm low vibing today. Or they can feel that they're low vibing and they go on and validate it, whichever way you want to look at it, which came first, the chicken or the egg, doesn't matter as long as I have breakfast. But it was so funny because they were having all of these massive ahas and epiphanies, and then they noticed that I'm sitting here grinning, kind of chuckling a little bit. They're like, what? I went, sounds a little familiar. They were like, what? I said, the stuff you just said sounds kind of familiar. They're like, oh, you've been telling me this. I'm like, yeah, yep, for a while. I don't care as long as the epiphany, the aha, the change comes through. Sometimes you have to hear something enough times, and then you hear it from a different source. And it can be the exact same words, but it hits you differently, and it sinks in through the core. The first 25 times or whatever you heard kept chiseling away at the armor. And it was that one final from the outside that managed to get inside the armor. Kind of like when the kiddo comes home and goes, guess what? Jimmy's dad just told me. Blah, 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 blah. I've only said that to you 27,000 times. Wait, what? Like when? Oh, like yesterday, last week, day before, last 2 years, 5 years since you were born? Well, yeah, but he said it differently. I don't know, you just repeated it the exact same way I said it to you. Doesn't matter. You finally got it. And it links right back to what I've constantly said. What are the 3 most expensive words when you have an opportunity to learn something? I know that. You may. But hearing it the 28th time may be that last little that gets it through, and you hear it in a completely different way from the new prophet. I'm a big fan of guys, people like Wayne Dyer and Jim Rohn and all of them, and I can't tell you how many times I've listened to their stuff, and all of a sudden it'll pop up on a reel on a day where something's going on, and it just hits differently. Like, wow, I've heard this 27,000 times, but not that way. And it's a recording. They're dead. It's not new information. That's why I still have, I bought all of their stuff on recordings, because sometimes pulling it out, even though you haven't heard it, you've heard it 18 different times, but the last time you heard it was 5 years, 6 years ago, you're not the same person you were 5 or 6 years ago. Just like I said with the story. You may have heard that story, or somehow the narrator changed. or somehow you decided that the movie was going to be different. It's a new chapter. Same information fits differently. Elijah.
I just wanted to add, good morning, by the way. I
Mhm.
just wanted to add, you're not the same person you were 5 or 6 seconds ago.
Exactly. No, exactly. And Mike just dropped in a question. Do you think that receiving messages when you are in a different mental frequency is one of the keys that helps the info to seep in? 100%. 100%. You know that when you're in a dark, depressed mood and people are trying to give you some information, you probably don't even, you just want them to shut up. You don't want to hear anything. You don't want any advice. You don't want any, just leave me alone. And if they would have recorded the stuff they were trying to tell you, and 2 days later, life is back on track, you're doing well, you're feeling good, energy's high, and they play that back to you, all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes, Mark, great quote. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And it may look like the teacher is a brand new person, new prophet, even though the message is identical. The student was not ready to hear it. Lenora.
I just wanted to feed off of Mike's comment, and he said, do you think that receiving the message when you're in a different mental frequency is one of the keys that helps the info seep in? I hands down completely agree with this. And one of the things that TJ often says is right words, right time, right person. That being said, it resonates very differently when it comes to rapport, when it comes to somebody that is somebody that you respect, and that there's also a space of kindness and no judgment. And that really makes a lot of movement forward. That being said, there is a massive, and by all means, I'm going to say massive, and I'm going to make it very personal. There's a massive difference between it coming from a female. There's also a massive difference coming from a male. So it depends also on that rapport and on that space. I have female friends that can say certain things. Only one female friend is almost everything she says. It's just when she's in that space and I'm in that space, everything goes through. But if I'm not, she'll bring me up to that space and so many things go through. Adding to that, the number of male coaches that I've worked with really make a huge difference also, especially when it comes to certain voices that go on in my head. So I definitely think there's a frequency. There's also an emotional frequency that you have to be in to get those shifts. And the more you can notice, even if you go back and say, okay, well, I had this conversation, that was really powerful. Notice who it was. Notice as much detail as you can about that memory, and really notice where that information, when you say seep in, did it seep into your heart? Did it just wrap you like a blanket? Did it come in as a download? Focus in on that, because those are keys and clues to how you receive money, not only in your money, how you receive information, not only from your emotional state, but the person that was in that space with you.
Excellent information. Thank you for sharing that. And Elijah also shared, this is why journaling is so good, because you learn from your own words when you're reading it back in a different state. Absolutely. Holly.
See if I can work my controls. I think also too, one of the things to keep in mind. So one of my obsessions is thinking about a lot of times, in a master apprentice relationship, what makes a good master, what makes a good apprentice, or, teacher student, parent child. There's all sorts of these relationships we have in our lives. And so I think at times, it may hurt when we say something to somebody and they don't hear it, and then they go talk to somebody else and they do finally hear it. And, sometimes we just have to tell ourselves it wasn't the right time, wasn't the right person. But also, I think we can learn from this and say, how can I more frequently catch the messages when they come from the people I don't expect them to come from? And so, like, for instance, one of my things that I truly believe in, whether it's a master apprentice or a teacher student or a parent child relationship, if the person in the master position doesn't learn something they couldn't have learned any other way from the apprentice, they're doing it wrong. If the parent isn't learning from the child, they're doing it wrong. If you're, as a parent, walking around saying, I've got 20 years of experience, there's nothing they could teach me, I just need to survive and teach them. And a lot of us do it, it's kind of as natural. Maybe even on a little darker note, but if it's like, oh, I'm morally superior to them, or I'm more enlightened than them, there are things that I can learn from Ted Bundy. I'm going to be careful about interacting with his energy, but even if it's just learning what not to do by watching him, there's things that I can learn. So, just having the humility to recognize there isn't a single person out there who doesn't have something they could teach us if we're in the right mindset to receive it.
100%. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Which is why I constantly asking questions of anybody. How many times have we talked about who's the expert? The expert is just a person that's half a step ahead of the rest. And that can be, back to the story of the 9-year-old with all the adult professionals. Just a different way of looking at it at the right time with the right angle, I guess. Any other comments, epiphanies on this? We can always come back to this. So, anything else before we try and fit in number 3 in the last 10 minis? All right, well, we're gonna hit all 3. Last one, dating or meeting. And this comes from my triple P protocol for my relationship people that are looking for relationships. And this was also one of the ahas on the new prophet thing with my client, because the best one so far, you all have seen me on that one. Well, when they found out that one was maybe a 10, but not their person, they had the aha that, well, I'm going to go back on dating sites, but I'm not going to go out on dates. I'm just going to go out with people, meet people, get to know them. And part of the aha for them was there was a reel on Instagram that said, what if your person is the 18th person you're supposed to date? Too many people spend too much time with number 5 because they don't want to say no. They know it's the wrong person. They know it's not their person, but they want to change them, or they want to be polite, or they want to give them a chance, and it goes, they were telling me this, and I'm cracking up, and they're like, what? I said, when I asked you how many kings there are in a deck of cards, how many queens are in a deck of cards, how do you find the king or the queen the fastest? You flip the cards as fast as you can. ABT, always be testing. When they show that they're an 8, your person is not an 8. It's nothing wrong with them. They are somebody else's king or queen. So when you're in this position, you have to reframe it. Are you dating or are you meeting? Go out and meet people. Join people for food situations, whether that's lunch, supper, breakfast, doesn't matter. Yes, interviewing, Mike. Yes. But it's the same, even if you're not dating, it's the same for building a tribe, isn't it? You meet people. You clicked with them. You like them. They're kind of cool. Hey. Instead, and one of the things that I saw in one of the reels was, instead of saying, would you like to get together and have a bite to eat sometime? You just go, hey, let's do lunch tomorrow at IHOP. Say 2:00, and it'll work or it won't work. But it's setting that tone, that intention. We're going to get this done. And whether you want to call it interviewing or meeting or whatever, it's not dating. Dating starts after you've realized that they're at least a 9 or a 10 or higher. They don't get to start at a king or queen, even if it's for your tribe. One of my clients just moved to a new state, new town, and I made sure that they understood this is a new beginning. Nobody there knows you. They don't know your background. They don't know your personality. They don't know anything about you. They will only know who you choose to be. And that is a powerful position to be in. But I let them know there will be lots of different groups waiting for you. There will be groups of millionaires who are looking to have somebody join their group and mentor the new person into the best way to build a business. But they're testing as well. And they're typically not the most inviting immediately. You have to earn your way into that group. Then there will be the group of lonely energy vampires. They have no problem inviting you into their group. They want you in their group immediately. Oh, you're new to town? Good. Hey, come hang out with us. We need new blood. I mean, we need, we're really friendly. And so I told them it's okay to be a little standoffish or a little mysterious. And it's okay to look at different movies and decide this is a brand new stage. What movie do I want to be in? What role do I want to play? How much of my past do I want them to know about? Who do I want in my tribe and why? Build your tribe cautiously. Meet people quickly. Build your tribe slowly and cautiously. And that gives us 2 minis. Any questions, ahas, epiphanies on tonight's 3 topics? Lenore.
I love that you said to build your tribe cautiously. And I think there's also, at least for me, especially when I think of the kingdom, how close are they? And I think you guys are the only people that I really consider a tribe, as in a group of people that I would go to and that I would share things with, whereas other groups I can be a part of, I don't consider them a tribe, and they'll say, like, oh, you're in the community, and it's like, it's a different level. It's very, I don't trust you yet. I'm not going to share this much information with you because I don't know you. I don't know what you're going to do with it, and I don't trust you, and you didn't earn that yet. And then I also think about, specific people, like they're a part of, I guess they would be a part of like my tribe, as in somebody I would call on. I don't know, tribe, I think of more than two people, that there's a group. So in my head, if it's just one person, I'm like, oh, they're close to my castle, or no, they're on the outskirts of my castle. Mm-hmm. And I also noticed, and this tends to be a little tricky for me, when I meet other people, I think, oh wow, they're so nice. They're great to know. They're clearly in need of help. And then as a little bit more gets revealed, it's not that they're not in need of help. They are. It's just this very nice demeanor that I thought, I'm like, okay, well, something else is going on. Now something else is going on. So it's not that they're not nice anymore. It's just as they're revealing other things, my perspective shifts. So I think that's more what it is. That sounds a lot better than that they're not nice anymore.
But understand, tribes evolve, and you can have multiple tribes. There will be your work tribe, there will be your church tribe, there will be your softball game tribe, whatever. But you decide what their placement is.
Maybe that, and how sacred of a tribe it is, or how important of a tribe it is. I don't know. I feel like it's very.
Yeah, there will be tribes that are allowed on the kingdom grounds that you meet outside the wall. There will be tribes that you meet inside the city wall. There will be tribes that are people from the tribe that are allowed to come into the castle. There will be certain people from multiple tribes that are allowed to sit at the head table. There may be 27 people out of that tribe, but only 2 of them get to come into the great hall and sit at the head table.
That sounds much better. Thank you for understanding what I was talking about.
Yes. It's the people that are allowed in the great hall that are allowed to sit at the head table that should go through the most vetting. Holly.
So maybe this could be put off too as a question for the second hour. I guess we're kind of getting into the second hour, but so my kind of question with this is, so I feel like, and I don't know if other people have this kind of similar feeling too, but in a lot of areas in my life, I have amazing people already in it. And I feel like I'm not even able to give the people who are already in my tribe, already in my life, the time, the attention, everything that they deserve. And so I'm just kind of wondering, because I have a couple slots open in my life, my person, maybe a different work. I like the people I work with, by the way. That's nothing on the tribe. It's just, it would be nice to make more money, sort of thing. So I guess my question is, when I'm out there meeting new people and having all these new experiences, how do I do that balance of, first of all, not getting overwhelmed, but second of all, not resenting these people because, and once again, I know there are other amazing people out there that I could meet too, but kind of resenting all the energy and time that I'm spending meeting new people when that's time and energy I could be giving to my existing tribe who really deserves it and it's earned that right to have that place in my life. Especially also, I just look at it and I seem to have so little return on investment in the past, and I don't feel like I have new strategies to get any different returns. So yeah, I could probably make friend after friend after friend after friend, but how is it ever going to turn into something different in the slots that are actually open in my life versus the slots that, and like I said, I'm going to meet these people, they're going to be amazing, and then I'm going to be debating, do I need to pare down my tribe? Like, how does that work too? And that could be for everybody.
Well, should we turn this into the first question or topic of the second hour? And before we let everybody else answer, for those that are watching live or watching the recording, this is where everybody on the call gets to answer first. And then if there's anything left for me to add, that's when I add my 2 centavos. So I've got lots for this, but we're second hour rules. So who's got something for Holly? Mark.
Yeah, going back to what and blending what Lenora said with my own past of being interested in King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. That this is, like you said, you people are at my round table. Okay, you might be TJ, you might be King Arthur, but that's why they made it round, so nobody would be above the other. And so you folks are, like I said, you're all seated around my round table. And I have other tribes, friends, family, other tribes, but yeah, you folks are definitely at the center of the castle, sitting around the round table. Just saying.
Thank you. As are you, my friend. Lenora.
So I believe what I heard was how to distinguish who's coming into my tribe, who I should spend more time with, where I should disperse my time. And this actually beautifully goes in with what I was going to share, Holly. I find that I very specifically operate very well when I allow myself time and I make time for myself to set myself up for a successful day. And for me, that looks like talking to my younger self, reminding her that it's okay. She's not the one that's running around. I am. And that it's okay that I have her back, that I have her support. And then I also talk with the universe or whichever you'd like to say. And I will quite literally ask, guide me to the people that I can help the most or that will help me the most, so that it's a give and a receive, and keep guiding me to the spaces and places that I need to be a part of for my highest good. And in doing that, I also do my best to pay very close attention to what feels like what I affectionately refer to as a full body yes. And if I'm feeling resistance, like, no, I really don't want to do this recording with this person, it just doesn't feel aligned. And I noticed this very specifically when somebody had asked me to start a podcast and it just was taking so long to get movement going. And I kept feeling this no, and I wasn't really, no, I was noticing it. I wasn't honoring it. And when I then was in a conversation with somebody, I'm like, this is how I want to feel. This is a full body yes. And I noticed the very distinct difference between the two. One had anxiety in my chest and the other one, everything was having a party. And I said, that's how I want to feel. This is what I want to know. And in having that level of awareness that says, this feels really good to me. No, there's a lot going on here. This doesn't feel really good to me. It quite literally took care of itself. And the people that were just not in alignment with a full body yes, or with with things that really felt good to me, just moved out of the way. They, for lack of a better term, fell off the face of the planet at some point. And I didn't even have to worry about it, as in having an awkward conversation. And now the more people that come in and line up, and even if I'm not sure why I'm meeting them, I think they might be here for me, I might be here for them. And they just keep opening up. And that is, for me, what I've noticed, that I don't have to have those decisions, but I have to have the awareness that says, you need to sit down and do this. Because if you don't set your day up, you're going to spiral, and then you're going to feel a way that you don't want to feel. My thoughts.
Great answer.
I got an answer for you. Holly. Can you guys hear me okay, or is it too loud?
We can hear you.
Okay. So Holly, I would say it really comes down to being really clear on your values and criteria, and align yourself with people where your values and criteria are in alignment with theirs, and what value are you adding to their life, and what value are they adding to your life. And if it's a reciprocating relationship and it lights you up, then there's no reason for you to feel negative about spending time with them, because you're energized from the conversation. You're energized from spending time with these people, and you have value, whether they're giving you value. If somebody's taking value, or you're always giving value, then joy. That's not where you need to be.
Hate to say it, but you're cutting out, my friend.
I kind of made my point. Did you kind of get it or no?
We caught about 40% of what you were saying. That we got the most of it, and then right towards the end you trailed off.
Oh, but
But
so
what you said does make great sense.
yeah, bottom line is, if you're spending time with people, they got to light you up. And if you're not being energized in that relationship, if you're being drained by it, it's not serving you. It's not where you need to be.
Yep. Great insight. Thank you, Mo. Who else has something for Holly? Well, I do. And it's the simple phrase that you're one event or person away from a completely new life. And if you keep your mindset open, your intention open to an improved tribe, it's amazing what can happen with a single hello, even when you're busy. When I met David, Dr. David, I was plenty busy. My life was good. I had a good tribe, and he didn't realize it, and I didn't, but he needed an AV guy, which made my life even busier. But had I not been open to the concept, I wouldn't be here with y'all. And I met all of you some way, somehow, through a hello or a situation, and a conversation ensued, and here we are. So we are, again, one event, one hello away from a completely different life. Lenora.
So I thought a lot about this quote this week. And what I ended up thinking was, and I absolutely love the idea of you're one event away. And what I also thought, and when I started to file down and focus on the word event, I also thought you're one aha, you're one insight. And the reason that made such a big deal to me was because there are times where I could think that if I just figured out this huge piece that was part of my life, and then I'm thinking, well, I've been working on that. I've been taking pieces of that apart. I've been modifying that. I've been working on that. And then I started to think, well, what if you're just one aha away? What if you're just one insight, one download, and everything just clicks? And that really was quite inspiring for me. And whether you want to call it an event, and I kept thinking an event as in an interaction or a phone call or, a meeting of some sort. Whereas when I thought about it as an aha, it really made a huge, huge, huge difference to me. And I hope that was impactful. Somebody messaged me stating that was impactful. So I'm really excited. So let me know your thoughts.
Awesome. Yeah, that's why those that know me, especially if you've been around me out in public, I strike up conversations with people anywhere, everywhere. I hand out business cards like crazy because I know that my life could be completely different tomorrow, next week, next month, simply by somebody that I met. Lenore.
Yeah, just those conversations that you have with people, and then 2 years later you hear, wow, that made such a difference to me. And it's almost like those timelines suddenly get activated or you step into that timeline. And I know we've been playing a lot with timelines lately, which is super, super fun. And again, that one aha where it was like, oh my God, if I never had that conversation, or if I never made that reel, if I never left that card on the counter and some random person didn't pass it to 16 other people, that would have never happened. So when you think about it like that, it becomes so much more expansive. And then you can also drive yourself nuts and go, and yet I obsess over those silliest little things.
Yeah. And, one of my best friends in San Diego, Tina hates it when I say it. I met him on Craigslist, and she's like, stop saying it that way. I'm like, but I did. I was looking for a stereo for my van and found it on Craigslist, showed up at his place to buy it, found out he was big time into vintage stereo equipment, and we hit it off. We've been best buds ever since. Did I have time for that? Well, not really, but again, it's realizing how easy and how quickly your tribe can shift. Your life, your everything can shift. Jobs. I've said this a couple of times. I'm on profession 28. Ask mom, right, mom? But it wasn't because I was unemployable or just a job, jumper or whatever. I did a lot of traveling, and I'm addicted to, silly stuff like, I don't know, sleeping indoors and eating. And in doing that,
The nerve of you.
yeah, meeting a lot of new people. And of course, had I known then what I know now, I'm glad I didn't in a way, because I probably wouldn't be here. I don't know. So
I think you really hit the nail on the head there, Chief. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to comment that I think you really hit the nail on the head, whether it be adding people to your tribe, jobs, whatever it is really being present and being able to recognize an opportunity when it presents itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've always said, one of my mottos with the amount of different professions I had was I was looking for a job when I got this one. And I wasn't afraid to move up, move better. Michael.
Yes, sir. I was going to say, in lines with what you're saying, like minds will always find a way to find each other.
Yeah.
Aww.
So no matter what choice you take, you'll still kind of find your way.
Exactly.
So.
And that's, again, the benefit of being open-minded to putting out there that you want to expand your tribe or you want to improve your tribe. And it doesn't mean that you have to, sometimes you do have to kick people off the tribe. They snuck in under the pretext of being, a certain level of person. And unfortunately, sometimes we'll keep them around because of familiarity or excessive compassion or empathy.
Or hope that they'll get better.
Yeah, they'll get better. They didn't really mean that. But after a while, just like the job you're at, if you bounce, your position is available on the internet or in the paper the very next day. All the places I worked when I left, the business did not crumble. And you can think of it the same way with your tribe. If you've got space for 4 people at the head table, make sure you keep improving it. And Mike just added, yes, the cream rises to the top, but he put in, this part is huge. This is so important, not in the tribe, but in your own personal life and in dating. This should be a large part of your awareness. That is your life. Your tribe, your dating, your person, that even if you decide that you're not ready to have a partner, a king or a queen or whatever, you can still constantly improve your tribe. And I told one of my clients, because they were kind of perpetual daters, they were the ones that I told them to take a year off, and every 3 months they found the next best person. Get to meet a lot of people and pick your person from your tribe. That's where the dating or meeting comes back again. Meet people. Be interested in people. What are they good at? What can they offer? What can you offer them? Sometimes your external tribe can be made of people that you can network with and for. Do you know a really good electrician? Do you know a really good mechanic? Do you have one in your tribe? If you don't, ask around. Does somebody know a really good mechanic? Get to meet them so they can be part of your tribe. Doesn't mean they're in the castle. They're not sitting at the head table. They could end up there. You don't know. But that way, when you meet somebody that needs a mechanic, hey, I know a person. Hey, I know a person. And when they hear somebody that needs somebody of your talent, hey, they got a person. Networking. Uh-huh.
I just wanted to quick circle back, especially because I know Mike sometimes pops off. There is a really cool story that Elijah has about how people can impact people's lives. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a professional that you're working with. It can just happen in moments. And I was wondering if Elijah could pop on and share that story, because I messaged him so he knows which one it is. Elijah. There you are.
Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Hello. So I was at a train station and there was this guy who finished work and, he'd had a couple beers and he had a bag with a couple more in there. And he was going home and, we just having a chat. I was actually outside the front having a little toot on my vaporizer and he was having a smoke. And he said in passing, nothing serious, but he's like, "Oh, I probably drink a little bit more often than I should, and I probably drink a little bit more than is healthy." And I said, "Oh, do you want to stop?" He said, "Oh, yeah, I want to stop. I have tried several times, but can't really." And I said, "Oh, well, fair enough." I said, "If you were going to stop, why would you want to stop?" And he said, "Well, I have a little girl and, sometimes I don't spend the time with her that I could be spending with her and blah, 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 blah." And I said, "Did you ever consider that little kids, they kind of copy everything you do? Because that's how they learn, right? They learn to speak by you just talking to them, and one day they talk back. That you don't sit there with the dictionary and explain every word to them, and that's not how they learn to speak. They just copy you. They mimic you." I said, "I bet she's standing." And he said, "Yeah, she actually, she sits like her mom and she stands like her mom. She does the little postures and yeah, and she's probably mimicking you too." I said, "How would you feel if in 25, 30 years she was drinking just like you, and deep inside you knew that it was you who influenced her to do it?" And he literally poured the rest of his drink out and threw it away. And then I actually reached into his bag and I pulled out another one. I said, "Do you want a fresh one?" And he knocked it out of my hand. He said, "No, you can't make me drink another sip." So then he went up the stairs to the main high street and there was this, homeless person. And he said, "I know this is probably not healthy for you, but I'm going to throw away these beers. Do you want them?" And he gave them to the homeless guy and then he went home and I never saw him since. I'm not sure if he stopped drinking or not, but I'm pretty sure it was an impactful conversation.
I love that. I know that's such an amazing, amazing story. And the whole point was, Mike, that everybody has these amazing conversations and their life can really shift in one moment. I know TJ has one about pineapples, and it just happens to be that one event that completely shifts somebody's life and reinforces the decisions that they're making, or reinforces the new decisions that they want to make. And Elijah, thank you so much for sharing that. I love that one.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting me on the spot.
The beard is coming in nicely.
I think the lack of light is helping. If I turn my light back to where it normally is, like this, it's still quite light.
It's definitely there.
But when I kind of turn the lights down a little bit, it looks darker, you know?
It matches the theme
We're
of the
using
room
all the
behind you.
trickery.
Very awesome. I think you have one. You have a few of those, TJ.
Yeah, I've been blessed to be at the right place at the right time and have the right words simply pop out. And yeah, and you wish them well. That's why one of my questioning affirmations is, whose life will I change for the better, even if I don't know about it? The guy with the pineapple, I have no idea. I never heard from him again. I know, but it was life changing for both of us, though.
So you just never know, Mike, especially when really that one event or that one aha or that one epiphany, that one really you came across. So many things shift constantly. And I find it amazing and also simultaneously infuriating that I will obsess over, I can have this grand perspective, and then I'll have this like most ridiculous thing that I feel like I need to control rather than just being like, you're just playing along. You just go with the story. Just chill out, Lenora.
And it's, that somebody had put in the chat that hindsight is always 2020. And when I look at the series of events that led me to here with you all, it is so interesting to look at it, knowing that I think I made a couple of the decisions, but that was about it. It pretty much started with me deciding to go to hotel, restaurant, property management for my college degree a couple of years ago. Quite a couple of years ago. Which led me to an internship in Yellowstone, which led me to meet the manager of the bar that who got me into a travel club that got me to a meeting that I was on the wrong night, where I met David and told him his audio sucked, and ended up here. Elijah.
This really trippy thing is, like you said, did you even make those decisions? And is that even where it started? Or did it begin like when your parents met each other and decided to go on a date or get together? Or, you know what I mean? Like where does it actually begin? And how long has the snowball been rolling down the hill, really? And just how many variables were there, and how unlikely is the reality that you're facing right now? It's crazy when you think about it like that.
Exactly. And when you have that ability to look at how that all came together, you can decide how exciting the future is going to be. Because it didn't take much to get me here. No, it took me a whole lot, but in the grand scheme of things, there was a lot of the universe just going, yeah, this way, that way, this way, that way. And here I am. And here we are. And speaking of which, we got Holly.
I just gotta jump in. I know it was my question. First, thank you, everyone. So many gold nuggets. Like, not only did I get several of my questions answered, I even got questions I didn't know I had answered. So thank you. And seriously, they were in there. I just hadn't noticed it. One thing I'm just going to chime in on too is I don't believe that hindsight is 2020. This is one of my things. We think it is, because what happens is maybe we could look back at a point where we made a choice, and let's simplify it. Let's pretend it's a binary choice. We either do it or we don't do it. And so we do it, and we know what the result was of that. But we don't actually know what the result would have been if we didn't do it. And I think it's important to sometimes remember that, because now I'm not saying, I mean, sometimes we'll look at it and we're like, yep, that decision, it was a key part of me getting where I am today. And it probably was. I'm not discounting any of that. But, for instance, let's say we look back and we see a decision we think wasn't the best decision and we wish we could take it back. Well, for all we know, the other decision would have had a worse outcome. Or maybe that, and sometimes we talk about, this was the decision I had to make to become the person who was capable of making the different decisions. So if I hadn't made it, I wouldn't have learned the lesson, and then I would have had to learn the lesson down the road. Or, so anyway, it's just a thing I like to remind myself of. Hindsight's 2020 in that I know what happened. I kind of know, as we've talked about before, even our own memories, we don't really know what really happened, because the recording we took and what really happened aren't the same and all that. But, we kind of think we know what happened with the decision we made. It's complete pure speculation to know what would have transpired had we made a different decision at any given point. So I find comfort in that. Like I said, when we're talking about the good decisions, we don't necessarily need that reframe or the good things that happened that seemed bad at first and then turned into something good. But if there's ever anything you're looking back and saying, I wish I'd made a different decision, know that you could play that alternate timeline and it may end up being completely different than what you anticipated it would be. So, yeah, I mean, I have follow-up questions if nobody else has a question, but I know we've been talking on my thing so long.
No, we need questions, we need topics, and we got 26 minutes left. So,
okay, well, one of the things that came up when people were talking was the idea of taking advantage of opportunities. And one of my thoughts is, kind of two thoughts came to my mind. One is it possible that I've had tons of opportunities and just didn't see them? And then the other thing that came up in my mind is, I know at least when I get into a new scenario, so I'm going to rewind really, really far. I don't even know why I still have this memory, but I remember the first time somebody said hi to me at school. And I didn't know the proper response to that greeting. I was grateful for it. I was happy they said hi to me, but I'm like, am I allowed to say hi back? Nobody's ever said hi to me before. Are they going to think that I'm, and I went through this anyway. So my first response to new territory is to freeze. And I know that sometimes freezing communicates something that you don't even necessarily know that you're communicating. So looking back on it, now that I know the rules of saying hi, the person probably thought that I was maybe, spurning them. It wasn't that at all. I was so grateful that they'd said hi to me and, all this other stuff. It was a life-changing moment for me. But it breaks my heart to think that they may have gotten the message of I was rejecting them and I was ignoring them. And they may even have thought I was too high above them to, acknowledge them or something. So I guess my question is, first of all, how can we better see the opportunities that are new, that are something that's so completely new that maybe it's harder for us to see? And then the second thing is there a way to avoid freezing, or maybe just a way to avoid communicating rejection when we're in those new moments and can't quite figure out what's going on and what the right rules of etiquette are when we're in new situations?
great question. Who's got some answers for her? Nora.
So there was this call that I was a part of the other day, and I'm looking to see the phrase, and she had shared so many lovely things. And she goes, I must believe that opportunities are everywhere, and I will recognize them as something I can contribute to them, or they can contribute to me. So even in looking at that, if you look at opportunities as taxis, and even that taxis, if you're in the city, you got taxis all day long. And if you look at that as saying, oh, I just missed the taxi, and they went on whatever interaction they needed to get from that, even maybe they thought that, oh, that she just didn't know what to do, or she didn't know how to respond. Whatever their takeaway was is out of your control, and you can wish them the best. And know that they've moved forward, but also for you to say, okay, what can I learn from that? Now I know the proper grading. This is great for me. And then I can be aware of other opportunities. And I really liked her wording that I will recognize them as something I can contribute to them or they can contribute to me. So we have that back and forth. Those are my thoughts on opportunities.
Who else has something for Holly?
I'm not sure she's gonna like it. 2 days ago, and I didn't share this at the beginning. I wasn't really intending to, but I'm gonna self-promote a little bit in a few moments. So 2 days ago, I had like the biggest aha moment that I've ever had in my whole life. An actual epiphany. I was laying in bed at one point, 1:24 a.m. I checked the time, and I was just completely shaking. My heart was pounding, and I was overcome with joy and gratitude and just crying, lying down in bed. It was crazy. And one of the things that was a small part of that massive epiphany was we're too polite, and we're too good, and we're too worried about what other people will think and concerned. And so this is the self-promoting part. I'm doing a class on 25th of August, how to bring out your inner monster, based on Jordan Peterson's recommendations that we should all become monsters and then learn how to control our own monster.
Yes.
Right? So I'm doing a class on how to bring out your inner monster and how to awaken it. 25th of August, right? So I think on one side, really, it shouldn't matter. Like, if they were offended, so what? So what? Like, and I know some of you might be cringing when you hear that, but what happens when you get offended? Do the mountains crumble? Do the seas roar? Does the sky fall? No, it's something that happens internally and is very subjective, right? What offends you might not offend me. I'm offended by boy bands, right? In some cases, right? And so that's one thing. I'm not saying just be mean to people, right? That's not what I'm getting at. But maybe part of it, just part of the solution, is that you care too much and you should maybe reduce how much you feel is important about what the other person's opinion is of you. If it's an opinion about something that's not you, you can, see it at face value and see if you agree or you disagree, and you can debate or whatever. But if it's an opinion about you, then the only opinion that matters is your own. Okay? It's other people's opinions about you, irrelevant, no matter who that person is. Okay? So that's one. And that, I think, is the only part you wouldn't like. I think the rest you'll be all right with. In terms of how to respond when something's like out the blue or new, or, I immediately feel my feet on the floor and take a breath and just feel my feet on the floor, and just feel like it's to ground myself, really. And I just take a second or two to really just consider, and then I answer. And the thing is, I used to worry that silence or hesitation, as I thought it was, would sort of offend also the other person, that they think that maybe I'm ignoring them or maybe I'm fobbing them off. But actually, when I take that moment and then speak, most people are actually grateful because they feel like I really took in and listened and paid attention to what they said before I responded. Like I actually thought about it. That's the impression it gives. So it's okay to take a moment and just take a breath and just process it fully and then respond. And most people actually appreciate it because it comes across like you're really listening. So that's kind of, I don't know if it helps or not, but it's a strategy. I think it works. And that's what I wanted to say.
Can I just jump in real fast and say,
Mhm.
first of all, brilliant response. And for those of us who already have commitments on the 25th, I hope you're considering recording your class and turning it into a product people can buy. Just saying.
Yeah, I think we might do it. I might teach it 2 or 3 times over the course of a month or so, and then get the best bits and do a compilation that turns into like a video course or something that we could sell online. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how popular it is. We'll see how much people resonate with it. You know. Thank you.
Great stuff. Who else has a response? One of the things I wanted to put in here is stop with the, and it's human nature in a way, but stop with creating the Hallmark movie of what this new person or opportunity could be. You meet people all the time. Some are great, some are not, just like a deck of cards. Don't start everybody out at, you out of here?
No, no, no.
Oh, okay.
That was hello, not goodbye. That was hello.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah,
Don't.
that was saying, hey man, you're right on, but it's so hard when we're all dreamers. You know, we're all cerebral and we're like, oh man, look at this new situation. Oh, what could this be? And our imagination takes over and it gets exciting and it sometimes gets your fire going. So I was like, I gotta raise my hand. I gotta raise my hand.
Yeah,
That's all.
right. One of the things that I had to learn with as many different places as I've moved to, all the different jobs that I've had and everything, is especially in response to the jobs, which are all opportunities, because some jobs were awesome, some sucked. I was looking for a job when I got this one. And when you meet a new person, yes, it's an opportunity. And it could go either way. They can be a great addition to the tribe. They could be somebody you don't want. And like Elijah pointed out then, don't read into it so deeply. Be yourself, learn to test, but don't put attachment to it right away. If it's supposed to work out, it will. I mean, I had to go through losing all my stuff in Minnesota so that I could end up in San Diego so I could meet you guys. But I had to end up in San Diego regardless. So again, don't worry so much about how you're going to say hi to person, what they're going to think about you. Chances are they're not thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are. Elijah.
On my 30th birthday, we went to a nightclub.
You went to what?
I was really, really stroppy. I was really moody and unhappy, and I was like the gloomy, like, oh my God, I'm 30, and then my life's over. I'm not young anymore, and I wasted all of my 20s, and now I'm going to be old. What the, right? And I was literally standing, sitting, leaning on the side with a drink and just being moody. Right? And one of my friends noticed that I wasn't dancing and getting involved and having fun. He came over to me and he went, "Do you see that guy over there? Do you see the way he's dancing? Do you see that look?" And I'm like, "What? Which guy?" "That guy over there. Do you see how ridiculous he looks the way he's dancing and stuff? He looks really stupid. And do you see him? Do you see him?" And I'm like, "No, what guy? What are you talking about?" And he went, "Exactly. Nobody's going to watch you either. Just let loose, have some fun." And he turned around and he walked away. And it suddenly hit me that I'm so worried about what other people think of me, but no one's actually watching me because they're all worried about what I'm thinking of them.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So just cut loose, man. There's not enough time. When you're old and your knees don't work and you have a walking stick or you're in a wheelchair or whatever, God forbid, knock on wood, I hope it doesn't happen to any of us, but it will eventually, and we know it will. At that point, you're going to be like, shit, I should have danced when I had the chance to dance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So just like, fuck it, dude, do it.
1,000%. In all my years of DJing, and I've loved to dance since I was a kid. Mom will verify, right, Mom? But I looked at the people out on the dance floor that had the most fun. A lot of times were not the best dancers. They were just out there dancing for themselves. They weren't dancing for who might be watching. It's one way to look at how do you want to be out in public. Ah! Awesome. The night just got better. For those that don't know, the man, the myth, the legend. Good to see you, my friend. Your mic's not on. Gotta love technology and fat fingers. I know, I got big hands too.
Oh, it's just insane. Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yay! Morning, afternoon, evening, somebody, everybody.
Yes.
Sorry, I look like shit.
No,
You must have a
don't.
good filter on.
I've just finished doing horses for 3 hours.
Good job. Well, the topic right now is worrying about what other people think.
What about when you make an absolute mistake, a huge mistake? That's a good time to worry about what other people think.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Who's judging and who's remembering? There. See what just happened?
Mm-hmm.
I've got so many stories of people that have beat themselves up about making what they thought was an epic mistake. And then when they found out that nobody really noticed, they were almost like heartbroken, like, wait a minute, nobody joined in on my sad story? I was the only one that wrote it and nobody joined me? Or how many mistakes ended up being some of the best things that have happened?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a little story?
Please.
When I was young, I used to ride motorbikes. I then started racing, so I was racing motocross. And when you knew, you keep falling down, right? You crash, you do this. Yeah, well, it took me a while to learn that, so I was given the nickname of Crash and Burn Argent. But the thing was, I kept getting back up again and kept finishing. I think of the 30 races, I only couldn't finish one, and that's because I fell off at the backside of a jump. And when I got up and went back, I had 5 sets of bike tires across my chest, and just got winded. But I got up and kept going. And it's like I never realized it for a long, long time. And then it's like, yeah. And that a lot of that doesn't stop me anymore because, yeah, I got knocked down, but I got up again.
I think another thing that making mistakes, big mistakes, gives you is maybe more humanity, in that you realize that all the things that you thought other people were idiots for doing, it could be you. It really could be you. The more I tend to say, I'd never do that, sometimes I find myself with it right in my face that, yes, actually, I can do that. And so I think my judgmental mind has to reform every time I make a huge mistake.
Yep.
But you're only human.
What's that?
But you're only human.
Yes.
And thus fundamentally flawed. Like the rest of us.
Yeah.
So it's okay. I mess it up sometimes too.
Are you doing it sometimes?
Am I what? What did he say?
Sometimes. That's all right.
Yeah, keeping it to sometimes.
Sometimes I do mess it up. Sometimes I get it just right. And sometimes I just babble. And I let other people figure out or decide whether it was good or bad. And whichever one they choose doesn't really affect me anymore.
And sometimes you have to understand that as long as you did the best you could at the time with the tools, knowledge, and energy you had available to you, that was the best you could do.
Mm-hmm.
If you could have done it differently, you would have.
Well, I'm definitely going to do it differently next time, because
Yes.
I've been involved in fire and rescue and cutting people out of car wrecks or in that area for a long time, and very passionate about road safety. And I committed a very, very nearly fatal error 2 days ago, and somebody up there was definitely protecting me, because I could have easily made that fatal error, and I somehow got out of it by that much. And it certainly made me reassess my life and think, I've been given a new life. I am going to really make the best of this. What a gift.
Yes, and I was going to say, the absolute best part of that story was the word almost nearly fatal, and how you got by that much. And one of the topics we've talked about, what is the one global event that changes people the most? Near-death experience. That oh my God, when they actually go, wow, my timeline could have been right here, but now I might have some of this, so what am I going to do with this? So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing what you take from this and turn it into.
I think I feel a duty to do something darn good about it.
And if you need any help from anybody, you know that I'm standing in line right here to, I'll back you up, I'll cheer you, I'll do whatever I can.
I'll pull silly faces.
I'll fall back.
Every day a miracle, because every day is a miracle.
We're all behind you, so we're glad you're good.
Thank you.
And we know Phil has cheated death so many times that death is like, that's enough. I'm going to go work on somebody that's easier. You just keep that streak going, my friend.
Yeah, I'm doing all right now. I'm doing pretty good.
Well, you made my night. Good to see you on here. But we got 2 minis left. Anybody else want to add any or share anything real quick before we have to sign off on my promise to keep this? Yes, Elijah.
Circling back real quick to the dancing thing, I did read a study that dancing is the best medicine for mental health and well-being. And I think it's because nobody dances when they're sad. So the more you dance, the more you're happy and not sad, and therefore you're focusing on positive things and having good experiences and making good memories, and that's why it's so good. If you guys are interested, let me know. I will dig up the study and send it to you so you can read it yourself.
Not only that, but you can dance out your emotions. Dance music is so tied in with your emotions that it pulls the emotions out. Yes.
I am so glad. Go ahead, Michael.
Also humming as well, because you can, when you concentrate on humming, you can't think about other things, and it brings your mood up.
I'm so glad that this topic got brought up, and I wish it would have been brought up about 15 minutes ago, but in all my years of DJing, especially with DJing the wedding dances where you get all of the ages there, I oftentimes said that dancing was the fountain of youth, and I could prove it. At almost every wedding dance, I'd play a song or announce we had a song, and Grandpa would come out with his cane with his bride, and he'd go over and he'd hang up that cane on the back of a chair, and he'd address his bride, and all of a sudden he was 30 years younger, and he's out there moving smooth as iron silk, and he's just shuffling along, and everything's good, and the song would end, and then he'd go and he'd grab his cane, and then he'd hobble back to the table that he was sitting at. I watched it many, many times. And I know that music is such a strong anchor. Anybody that knows me, I've got sound systems throughout the property. My neighbors listen to great music, whether they want to or not.
But that music is old, doesn't it?
What's that?
That music tends to be from years ago, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And another thing I learned is listening to old polkas. It's hard to be in a bad mood when you're listening to a polka. Germans had it right. You see them at Oktoberfest, and the polkas are blaring, and everybody's dancing and sipping suds, and there have been many times I've had, even my wife, I'll be playing it out in the shop. She's like, I can't believe you still listen to this. And I said, and you said it with a smile on your face. Just one of them things. But the other thing, we're over time. Unfortunately, I made a promise to always keep this in time because I want to respect your time. I'll always say it. It's one thing I can't reproduce and give back. You will know as soon as I figure out how to reproduce and make more time, because I will share it with you as much as possible. But for you to take your precious commodity of time and share it here on this platform means so much to me. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for every one of you for showing up and being here and being part of this tribe. I love you guys. For those of you watching out on YouTube, love you, Ma. And take care. Go out and make the world a better place. Live the best life possible. Learn from Fran.
Make every second count.
Make every second count. Until next week. Love you guys.
Appreciate y'all. Adios.
Bye.
Awesome class, TJ. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.